Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and thanks for joining this session on the role of a project management office, or how do we go about and transform the PMO organization. My name is Ashutosh Bhatodekar. Okay. So just a brief background about myself. So many people who know might be thinking that what I'm doing for and conducting a topic like this, because many people know me as an agile coach, as a scrum master is what people know about me. And they might be surprised to see me talking about a PMO. So just to set the record straight, I started my career as a software developer in the way where projects were being executed in the traditional way of working. Which we now call it as a waterfall way of working. And subsequently, I climbed up the ladder, became a module lead, a team lead, a project manager, and also started handling PMO for one of the delivery units in the organization where I was working at that point in time. So I have been working in project management office for quite some time, I would say 3 to 4 years, where we did bring about some of the major transformations. Then that's where actually I got introduced to Agile, and my journey towards some Agile coaching started. So if you look at my journey, it has actually moved, or I would say transformed from handling the PMO or the PM office of a business unit into an Agile coaching role. So that's been my journey in this career. And yeah, very happy to be presenting this topic on what is a PMO, what are the roles and responsibilities of the PMO, how we should go about and set up the PM office or the PMO office. And most importantly, is this role still there? Because many times I hear in conferences, in events and discussion forums, that this role has become, I mean, when I say role, this role, it is about the PMO role. The PMO role has become more like a defunct role. It is no longer existing, or this role needs a change. So I'll also be talking about that towards the end of the session. Okay, and yes, I'm assuming that the participants here have got a basic knowledge on what a PMO does. What are the critical roles and responsibilities of a PMO or a PM office, and who are the actors, who are the critical actors or roles which are being played in a PM office. At the same time, I'm assuming that a basic awareness about agile approaches. I mean, everyone is aware about some basics about agile and a agile way of working. So that's the assumption with which I'm going to go ahead and put forward this case. So those of you who are on LinkedIn Live, the session is getting recorded also. You can also ask me questions at a later point in time. Those of you who are on Zoom, obviously you will get a one-to-one interaction time with me from a question perspective. So that's brief about my background. Let me also share my YouTube channel link with all of you. And as I said, this YouTube channel has got now 100 plus videos, and thanks to all of you. People have been watching videos on the channel. They have been appearing for interviews, and yeah, the feedback, I'm getting a very good and a candid feedback about the channels and what all videos you should be shooting more. And this was also one of the demands because of which I have actually now started working on this video, or rather I have now started shooting this video. So the link is given to you, those of you who are on Zoom meeting. This is my YouTube channel, Agile Coaching and Leadership Transformation. And do like, share, and subscribe. And most importantly, if you can subscribe to my channel, nothing like it. It will help you grow. As I said, it will help you get some more ideas about the transformation, how you should go ahead and appear for interviews, whether you are a Scrum Master, Agile Coach, a PMO lead, or a PMO head. This will definitely give you an indication as to how one should be approaching from a interview perspectives. Those of you who are on LinkedIn Live, we'll try to send it during the session. But in case it doesn't go through, don't worry. Later on, you can connect with me one-on-one, and I'll share the link of the YouTube channel with all of you. Okay, so having said that, let us go deep dive into the topic. Yeah, so I think I already introduced myself. I've already covered my introduction part of it. And yeah, Ashutosh Bhatodekar here, working as an enterprise agile coach, but PMO is a topic which interests me. And yeah, if you want to connect with me further on LinkedIn, or you want to read my articles on DZone, they're available for all of you. So on that note, let me start with the session. and let us go directly deep dive into topic. Now, if you look at the history of project management, I mean, project management as a stream is very old. Okay, it's almost as old as the human civilization. But some of the professional practices or some of the professional, I would say, techniques in project management have come in last, I would say, 70 to 80 years. That is when I would say that a lot of professionals started coming together, and one of the bodies which formed was PMI, as we all know, Project Management Institute, and it had experts from all the areas coming together and trying to share some of the best practices and ways of working. So as a stream, project management, I would say, has got its more of a professional touch in around last maximum, I would say 100 years, probably we can say safely that project management as a stream started getting its professionalism, if I were to put it in that way. And one of the important things which came out of that journey was the establishment, or at least a recommendation from PMI, that especially projects which are big in nature, projects which are massive in nature, it is not just that a project manager can handle these projects. Now you might say that yes, there's a project manager, program manager, and a portfolio manager, but the construct which PMI tried to give was that, you know what, there should be an independent body which actually oversees the execution of the project. And that is how this term PMO came into existence. And then there are different nomenclatures for this PMO. Some organizations call it as a project management office, which is there in the title of the slide. Some organizations call it as a program management office. Some call it as a project office also. They don't use the word management. They just use the word office, program and office. Some organizations call it as a portfolio management office. So this term has got different connotations, different, I would say, lingo around it, that how you should frame it. Some organizations I've seen, they call it as governance office. The PGO, project governance office, is also a term which I have seen many organizations are talking about it. Yeah. So the term, I mean, the word does not matter at the end of the day. What matters is that what is the purpose of this organization? Is it just an overhead, or is it something which is really going to add value? Is it at the end of the day going to add any value to my project delivery? What is the benefit which the project manager will get out of this, right? I mean, are we really contributing to the value? Or is it just for kind of a glamour sake that I come out with this terminology and I try to talk about it, right? So definitely those were the initial concerns or the initial questions which were there as a part of this discussion around the role of a PMO, and what exactly is this? And then, of course, who should be leading it? Should the project manager be leading it? Or should you have a kind of another senior person who should be leading this transformation, or this transformation of body, or a transformation organization? So that's some context around the roles and responsibilities of the PMO. And as I gave my example, right, when I was working in my earlier organization, where I was a part of the PMO organization, one of the important things we did was that we actually got an executive mandate for this body, because many times what happens is, for a lack of executive mandate, right, this might become a kind of a paper tiger body. I mean, it becomes like, I mean, they don't really have any powers. They are just there to actually send some email about trainings on project management or PMP certification, or they are just there to collect some data, but that data is of no use. So we actually made sure that this body, which was functioning, got an executive sponsorship around it, right? That was one important thing we definitely ensured. And in fact, very happy to also inform that for few of the projects, we actually even got a billability from the customer, right? That it is required. I mean, there is an importance of PMO, and it is something which is very, very vital and important, right? So we got an executive funding for this body also done. So the buy-in is very important. What I'm trying to tell here is the buy-in for this body is something, it's very, very important, is what I feel, right? Because of lack of executive sponsorship or lack of any support for this, what will happen is this body becomes more like a paper tiger. As I said, it doesn't really have a teeth to it. Okay. Broadly, this is how I would describe a PMO. The fan model, I'm a big fan of this fan model. And as you can see, the blades on this fan, there are 7 blades on this fan. And these 7 blades are representing the critical roles and responsibilities of a PMO. So for this session's sake, I will keep it as PMO only. Okay, though there are different nomenclatures, as I just mentioned earlier, whether it's called as a portfolio management office or a program management office, or let us say a project office, I will restrict myself to naming it as PMO only. So the first and foremost important thing is that every PMO should have a charter, and that is where I talked about the executive sponsorship coming in. The charter would be a long-term vision, a short-term vision, and a medium-term vision. Typically, we have 30, 60, 90 planning also, what we do as a part of PMO chartering, or it could also be plans like quarterly plans which are there. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm talking about this example of this particular PMO in 2009. We did not have OKRs. OKRs have become popular now, objectives and key result. But at that point in time, we did not have OKRs. So there was the vision. As I said, there's a vision from the leadership in the organization that why we need a PMO. There was a roadmap. There were short-term objectives, medium-term objectives, and long-term objectives which were there. So that was the strategy part of the PMO. Very important. Without strategy, your PMO will not exist. It will die down, believe me, right? People will lose interest. No one will remember that there's a body like this which exists. And it is soon going to become an extinct animal in your project environment. So strategy is very, very important. Second is a clear-cut mandate from a governance perspective, that whatever PMO sends to project manager, it has to be treated with utmost importance, with utmost priority, right? So we are not a body which is just going to publish data. I mean, yes, that is one part of it, the rack status, what you see under governance blade, red, amber, green status, but there is more to it. We are actually an advisory body. We are actually a consulting body. So if any project manager is in distress, if any project is in distress, the PMO would be the first point of contact to seek any guidance or assistance. I think that is what I feel is a strong mandate which the leadership has to give to the PMO, right? And also to the delivery heads, right? Because if you do not have that mandate, what is going to happen is, again, it will just remain a body on the paper. So governance is the second important piece of a PMO, what is very, very vital and important. The third and equally important element is yes, this is a body which is going to establish processes, policies, and procedures related to project management, right? So any new tool rollout, let us say a new tool has to be evaluated for capturing project data. The PMO would be the body which will be instrumental in using that tool. Okay, they will be first using that tool internally. They will pick up few projects for pilot, and then they will, based on the pilot results, they will take a call, a go, no go, or maybe we may not do a big bang rollout across the entire organization, but few categories of project which fall in a particular zone, this tool might be beneficial for them. At the same time, PMO is also responsible for creating templates, right? Standardizing the template. So many times, one of the biggest problems what we see in projects is that, let's say you and me are a project manager. You might be using template A in one particular format. I might be using a template B in a totally different format. So it's the job, role and responsibility of the PMO to actually make sure that there's a standardization of the template. Wherever possible, tailoring is allowed. Tailoring is customizing it as per the client needs, right? So that is the third and the most important roles and responsibilities of the PMO. Fourth, this depends on the mandate which is given to PMO, right? Manager of managers. So at least in the organization which I'm talking about, as a PMO, we were the resource pool for all the project managers. So all the project managers were a part of the PMO. And whenever a new project used to come, the project manager from our team used to be deployed as a lead for that particular project. So that is, I mean, the fourth blade is an optional blade. It may not exist in all the PMOs. Okay, it depends on them. And yes, we will see what are the types of PMO as we move along. In the next slide, we'll be talking about it at a very, very high level. What are the different types of PMOs which are there? Okay, so that's the fourth blade which is there. The fifth one, many times PMO acts as like what in India we have, right? A precedence rule imposed in a state, right? So if the state government is unable to function as per the law of the land, the government at the center imposes a precedent rule, right? And then it is the governor who takes the charge of the entire state. We all know those examples, right? Similarly, if a project is really not performing well and the project manager is struggling, or there have been an escalation from the client on the way the project is being executed, the PMO can take over that project. The PMO lead can take over that project and give that confidence to the customer or the client. And once it reaches a stable state, you hand it over back to a shadowed project manager. So this is also one of the critical roles and responsibilities of the PMO, what we see. The sixth one obviously is matrix and data collection. So this is more, I would say, a regular, I would say, operational BAU activity of the PMO, wherein they will collect data, they will analyze data, they will crunch the numbers, they will provide insights. And most importantly, what comes out of this is a dashboard. So there's a management reporting dashboard which is created, and the dashboard is published at periodic intervals to the leadership team. So this is one of the crucial roles of the PMO what we have, right, related to data and operations, which is there. And number 7 is obviously the coordination, right? Communication. One of the very vital aspects of PMO is communication, communicating the status, highlighting any risks, making sure that the fundings are allocated to the project at an appropriate point in time. So those will be the critical roles and responsibilities of the PMO. A quick pause here before I move ahead. Those of you who are working in the PMO, are you doing similar activities? Just a quick check. I wanted to now figure it out, that are you doing the same set of activities? Those of you who are working in a PMO, you can just confirm it on the chat. Those of you who are on LinkedIn Live can also put it in the comment box, which is there. I'll just take a pause here before I move ahead. Just a quick check. Are you playing similar roles as a part of PMO? If you're working in a PMO, or obviously if it excites you, the topic excites you, you have come to know that what exactly does a PMO do, right? I mean, now, as I said, right, I mean, in the traditional world, there were 3 major types of PMO which were there: a supportive PMO, a controlling PMO, and a directive PMO. So those were the three types of PMO which were there. Supportive PMOs, the power and control available to such PMOs is very, very low. They're mainly responsible for any new template, and they do not have really a teeth. They are like a home guards in our country, right? I mean, home guards are just for mainly for internal some security engagement. That kind of a role is a home guard, right? So supportive PMO is like that. They will just probably come out with best practices, tools, templates, etc. And as such, the control given to them will be very, very minimal. Then the second level we have is a controlling PMO, like a state police. Okay, I'm just trying to put it: home guard, state police, and obviously no prizes for guessing. Directive will be military, right? I mean, that kind of a PMO will be like an army or the air force of a country. Okay, coming back to controlling PMO, they have got some moderate power, mid-size power. They're not only responsible for rolling out tools and templates, but also best practices in project management, project audits, maturity assessments, about the maturity of the project. So those things would be done by the PMO, which is a controlling nature PMO, what we have. And then we have a directive PMO. Directive PMOs are those PMOs which directly take control in charge of the project by directly managing the project. So if you have a directive PMO kind of a structure, as a project manager, you will be reporting to the PMO lead or the PMO head. Also remember that usually what is also seen in organizations is that a very, very senior person is nominated as a PMO head. It's a very, very responsible position. So a very senior person usually gets nominated as a PMO head is what we have. Okay, so this was the picture in the traditional world. It is still there if you're doing projects in the traditional way of working, which is the normal SDLC life cycle. This model still exists. Many organizations continue to have this model around it. right? So you will still find some organizations leveraging this model. Now, what started happening was that agile ways of working came into existence, right? And we all know how agile has transformed the entire landscape in last 10 to 15 years, right? And obviously people started asking questions that, I mean, does a PMO really work in an agile office? Or an agile way of working? Do we really require a PMO? Okay. And from my experience, I can definitely tell, yeah, just a quick glance through what agile is. I think we all know the 4 values of and the 12 principles. And what I felt was, even in those days when we were just trying to debate whether we need a agile PMO in an agile office, or what is the relevance of an agile PMO in an agile office, we did have a business case. We did have a strong justification as to why a PMO needs to exist in an agile way of working. And this slide actually talks about some of the critical things where the PMO, I mean, it is not called as a PMO in an agile world. It is called as an agility office, as you can see the title of the slide, or agile management office. But what we felt even in those early days of agile adaptation was that definitely we need this organization. Okay. And these are some of the places where this organization could be having a value to it. Okay, so obviously this did involve convincing the leadership team. This did involve convincing the management also that why we need the compelling case for a PMO in an agile way of working. But definitely we felt the need for it. And as and when we started in enhancing the agile ways of working, or as and when more projects started adapting agile, at a business unit level in that particular organization, we had established an agility office. So the role of this agility office was to make sure that there's a standardization of practices. For example, 2 teams should not have a differing view on what is a daily scrum, or 2 teams should not have a totally contrasting view on what is a backlog refinement meeting. That was the critical role and responsibility of the agility office. Now I'll use the word agility office. I mean, it's but to put it in a contextual language, it is nothing but the work of a PMO in an agile way of working, right? So I will now use the word agility office for it. And one of the structures, I mean, we didn't have a fan model there, just to let you know, what this PMO did was, or what this agility office did was, it actually created DevOps coaches, agile coaches, subject matter experts. That was one of the critical roles and responsibilities of the agility office. Any framework to be developed, any new framework to be developed, or an existing framework to be used, that was done by the agility office, sharing best practices across teams, agile governance and matrix. So those were some of the important initiatives which were done by this agility office, or I mean, some organizations call it as an agile center of excellence. I don't like to use that word center of excellence for it, but I have kept it here just to correlate that in some organizations this could be the term for it. We used to call it as AO, or agility office. And what I'm showing you is a sample of that organization. Obviously, I'm not revealing the name of the organization where it was done. So it was called as agility office. And if you look at it, something similar to the fan model, but not exactly a fan model, we called it as a hexagon model. If you look at this particular role of an agility office here, it had got a role in creating a product vision. So MVP development, product backlog management, refinement. It had a role in figuring out the framework. What should be the right framework for a particular situation. So we did come out with some templates that, okay, will X framework work or will Y framework work, right? We came out with a ready to use agile toolkit that if I'm a new Scrum Master, I can directly go ahead and use it. I mean, I just have to refer to that standard toolkit, and all I have to do is download the standard toolkit and I have to start using it. Scaling frameworks, which scaling framework to use where, right? I think we always have that confusion. We always have that dilemma that should I go for scaling framework A or scaling framework B? The third important dimension was the people dimension, coaching people, creating a cross-functional team, changing the mindset, changing the culture, competency development, bringing about that one team culture. That was the third dimension in this organization which was there. The fourth one was on engineering excellence. So this include our DevOps, DevSecOps later on at a point in time when the DevOps had matured. exploratory architecture, setting up the architectural. So this also involved, by the way, setting up communities of practices. And I think it is missed out here somewhere, but we had created communities of practices, or COP, what we call it, which is a group of people of related traits who come in together. So community of practices for architectures, for architecture, for Scrum Masters, for product owners, for I would say DevOps professional. So we had set across this. So that was a part of engineering excellence. Fifth one was on tooling, heavily on tooling, the best practices, ALM tools like Jira version 1, how to configure Jira. We also came out with some customized reports from Jira, which actually could be used from an agility perspective to decide on the measure to measure the agility or the agile transformation of that particular engagement, right? And something interesting also, what we did from a collaboration and communication perspective, we started having Friday sessions. So where anyone could come and talk, something like this, what I'm doing right now, right? Anyone can nominate himself or herself. They can come and they can talk about any topic or any new discovery, what they have done, or any best practices, or for that matter, even anything which you would like to share, which has not worked, for the benefit of all. So that was kind of a brown bag session, what we started having as a part of this collaboration and communication as a part of it. And then last but not the least, on the project governance, right? The sixth block is on the governance piece, which is there, where we had agile matrix, continuous improvement, risk moderation, and some work done on the return on investment model. So those were some of the key highlights of the Agile Center of Excellence, or Agility Office, what we called it. We worked on this engagement, right? So these are some of the things what we have done. And again, I'm sure those of you who are working in an agile organization, where the organization has already having something like an agility office, I'm sure they would be already aware of it. Something similar, I'm sure you would be aware of it, or you would have actually worked on it as you would have seen, right? I'm sure you would have seen around it, right? Any experiences to share anyone has on this? I mean, have you worked on something similar from an agile way of working? I'm not asking about a traditional PMO, because as I said, right, I mean, especially if your organization is an agile organization, you will see that the PMO role also has to be transformed. It is not that the PMO role remains static. This role also needs to be transformed into more like what typically an agility office is trying to do. And yes, one of the important things at the journey of this maturity was that our customers started asking that, can you generate some business outcome matrix? Can you tell us from a business perspective, is agile really helping us, or it is not helping us? So those were the things what came out as a part of this. So anyone, any similar experiences on the agility office, or on the agile way of working, any agile management office where you have worked on? So obviously I would like to definitely understand if you have any experiences around this. So maybe I'll take a pause for a few seconds before I move ahead. And yeah, I'll come back to LinkedIn Live and you can connect with me later on. People on LinkedIn Live will be more than happy to have this discussion carried forward later on. Okay, so let me then move ahead. Now, what has happened in the industry, right? I mean, we have to, one point we have to always remember is that everything is continuously improving. Okay, everything continuously evolves. Nothing remains static in this ever-changing world. Now, as we see, right, I mean, the way Agile has actually grown leaps and bounds in last few years, right? We see some very interesting trends in the industry. Okay, some very, very interesting trends. And even the role of this agility office has transformed itself. And that is where I wanted to sensitize PMO people. So many times I get questions from folks who are playing a PMO role, that, you know what, I mean, I went for an interview and they asked me this question, but I have never done this work. In my entire PMO career, I have never done this. I'm talking about people who are 7 to 8 years of experience in PMO. The reason being that you continue to give interviews thinking that this is what is happening in the industry. Slide number 5. But as I said, this fan model is a very old model. Okay, even this agility office model is a very, very old model. Okay, what we now have is a very interesting model. The actual role of a PMO has become like a value management office. So most of the organizations have transformed from a PMO into an AMO and from a AMO into a VMO. Has anyone heard about it? Value Management Office. What exactly is a Value Management Office? What it does? What are the critical roles and responsibilities of it? I mean, I know a particular person who actually went for a PMO interview, and 70 to 80% questions were from 2 and 3. AMO and VMO, hardly any questions from PMO, because they know, right? I mean, yeah, PMO, you can do it, right? I mean, if you have been in the industry for 6 to 7 years, PMO is something what I think you would have become an expertise, but have you really grown yourself as a PMO professional? Have you grown yourself? Have you really transitioned and transformed from a PMO to an AMO? And yeah, as I said, right, even AMO is becoming more or less transformed into a VMO, and the VMO stands for Value Management Office. Now, what is this Value Management Office? Now, Value Management Office is it's more than a concept. It's actually working with all the layers of leadership and trying to make sure that whatever work our teams are doing, at the end of it, it is generating value to the business. So it is more focused on outcomes rather than outputs. If you look at the previous two, PMO and AMO, we actually are more concerned with outputs rather than outcomes, whereas a VMO is more focused on outcome. It has got touch points with the technology section of the transformation. It has got a touch point with the business section. It has got a touch point with various teams who are working on the deliverable. And the next diagram will make it clear to you, right? How exactly, I mean, I've just tried to draw a skeleton diagram of a Value Management Office, what exactly it is all about, and what it brings to the table. So many organizations nowadays have started transforming into a Value Management Office. And obviously the role required would be a senior strategic role. You cannot be a PMO lead or a PMO manager to perform that role, right? I mean, you need to have actually even transitioned through this 1, 2, and 3 in order to perform that role. So you definitely need a senior leader who knows about the business, senior leader who knows about the best practices of giving value to the customer. So that is the, I would say, the profile what is required to become a Value Management Office leader or a value management leader, right? So let me show you this. Yeah, this picture might look a little overwhelming to start with, but if you look at it, the Value Management Office is the heart of this system. So just like a body cannot function without the heart, okay, your transformation cannot function without a heart. Okay, your brain is the executive connect, and there has to be a strong connection between the brain and the heart. So the Value Management Office is something which is at the center. And as I said, right, it has got a touch point with the executive leadership. So in executive leadership, you have the business leadership, the portfolio management, the product leadership, the release management. These people interact with the Value Management Office, because at the end of the day, this is the zone. The connection between the brain and the heart is just like it is very important, right? I mean, if the connection is broken, I won't exist as a human being, right? So similarly, here we have a connection between the heart, which is the Value Management Office, and with the executive committee or the executive connect of a transformation. So it could be the CXOs, CIOs at a business leadership level, portfolio leadership level, release management, product leadership. At the same time, it is connected to my feet through the shared services organization. So it could be my test automation team, my architectural team, my infrastructure team, and my DevSecOps team. I mean, this is not a full list. Okay, just wanted to let you know that this is not entirely a full list which is there. This is just an indicative schematic diagram as to how a Value Management Office works. The key person who orchestrates this is the value management leader. Okay, so we have a very senior role, and usually you will find this person would have played a PMO lead, an AMO lead, or an agility office lead, and he or she would have then transformed himself or herself into the role of a value management leader. This framework, skeletal diagram is framework agnostic. We have applied it in Scaled Agile Framework SAFe. I mean, this has been put in on top of the Scaled Agile Framework implementation. We have also done it in a Scrum of Scrums. We have also done it in a Spotify way of working. Okay, so this is a framework agnostic skeleton which I have tried to depict here. It is not the actual representation of the work which we have done. Okay, obviously from a client proprietary perspective. But just to tell you, the head is the executive leadership, where the heart of the value management office is connected. The grounded at a feet level, it is connected with my shared services. Sideways, I have the squads. Sideways, I have the portfolio teams and squads. There can be multiple squads, as we know. I have just depicted two. And we have the community of practices and chapter leads. And you continue to have the agile leader, the scrum masters there for each of the squad, or we can even call it as a squad leader. So you can have these multiple squads which are there. And most interestingly, the value management office has got its value backlog, or it is also called as a transformation backlog. So it is either called as a value backlog or a transformation backlog. And this transformation backlog is a summation of all the things what you're going to deliver in the product, right? It's actually at a much more strategic level. The transformation backlog is something which caters to my brain, which is the executive leadership or the executive connect, which is there. So my transformation backlog is much higher than the product backlog. It is much more strategic, and it connects to my executive leadership, which is there. Okay, so the transformation backlog is the first point in time which the value. So the value management leader acts like a product owner for the value management office. So he or she is going to create the transformation backlog. Okay, and obviously this transformation backlog, as I said, is a connection of all the product items, whatever we have delivered, all the matrix, what we have measured. It's a connection on that. And what we deliver at the end of the day is, apart from, the product and its features, are some critical business outcomes. And how do we measure those business outcomes? We measure those business outcomes in terms of how many customers we could add because of this transformation. How much of downtime has been reduced to a greater extent? Has my defects got reduced? Have I got more appreciation from my internal customers? Are my contact center agents happy now that because they are getting less calls now? Is my employee satisfaction index improved because of this? So those are the critical business outcomes, what we measure as a part of the business, as a part of the value transformation office, or what we call as the value management office. So value management office is that piece. It's that heart in that entire business transformation. This person, and you will see, you'll see also on LinkedIn and all now jobs coming in on that, on the value management leadership. These are the things what are required, a strong articulation of the business skills. And if you're able to fit in, into this, then obviously, as I said, one of the prerequisites is that you have to move upwards from a PMO to an agility office to a value management leader role. Okay, obviously under this value management leader, you will continue to have some critical roles which were there in a PM office also. Like for example, you will need a data analytic person, right, to crunch the data. You will need a lot of, I would say, people who would help you with building this transformation backlog. There will be some floating population which will be coming in, like product owners, product managers. There will be floating population which will be a part of the team. But this is the heart. This is what we call as the heart of the transformation. So if you want to take your transformation to the next level, this is the function what is needed, and this is the role what is needed. Okay, so of course I have not written down any specific job description of this role, but I think I have well articulated it in last 35-40 minutes when I was and especially in the last 10 minutes when I was discussing about the VMO or the value management office. I have tried to make you aware of what exactly are the critical roles and responsibilities. Obviously, if you want to go deep dive into this, I would require another session on this, right? What could be the matrix? What could be the business outcomes matrix, which this transformation could be measuring? That, of course, would be a different kind of a session which would be there. Okay, yeah. So what we have seen the industry evolve now is that, and this is happening in more and more places. Okay, even our customers are demanding this. That gone are the days where I could just be a PMO or just be into a project management office, just crunching numbers. What our customers are now expecting is that at the end of the day, is the transformation delivering value? If not, tell me. That is how customers say nowadays. Even when they come for a request for proposal or an RFP meeting, they actually tell you that tell us if it is working or not. Okay, tell us the bad news also. We are interested to know that. Don't hide any bad news from us. And believe me, earlier it was very difficult to know whether the news is a good news or a bad news. But value transformation office or a value management office is definitely one of the ways in which it can be done, right? So that is what I wanted to cover in today's session. I'm now opening the floor for a question, and I would request people to restrict yourself to this topic rather than, I mean, of course, if you have questions on any other topic, do reach out to me one-on-one. I'll be more than happy to connect with you one-on-one. I'm also sharing my number with all of you here. So you can connect with me one-on-one on WhatsApp. And yeah, I mean, if you need any support for interviews and all, yeah, do connect with me. We'll be happy to discuss this further, right? So on that note, I will open up the floor for questions. And those of you who are on LinkedIn Live, you can type in the questions. So those of you who are here on Zoom meeting, you can now unmute yourself. I'm giving you the rights to unmute, and you can now ask if there are any questions on this. Yeah, you'll have to unmute yourself if you want to ask any questions. So there's an unmute button which is there. You can just unmute yourself and ask any questions if there are any questions. Yeah, let me meanwhile see if there are any questions on LinkedIn Live. Okay, so no questions from the Zoom meeting. Just wanted to reconfirm before I formally close the session. I'm assuming there are, you can also type in the questions if you don't want to speak. You can also type in the questions in the chat. Yeah, let me see. There's some chat message which has come up. Okay, so as I said, Swastik, this session was not on Scrum Master. You can refer to my video on the channel. I mean, or you can connect with me one-on-one. We can talk. Okay, so this session was not on Scrum Master. This was more on PMO and more importantly on the Value Management Office. But yeah, you can connect with me, Swastik, separately. Okay, any other question? Any other question anyone has? Anyways, I'm giving you my number here. You can connect with me on WhatsApp on this number. And yeah, feel free to ask any other question around it, and I'll be more than happy to answer this any of your question. I hope this session interested you. You got something out of it because you have invested. I always believe there is nothing free in this life. This session was not free, so you might be under the misconception that this session was free. No, this was not a free session. You had invested 45 to 50 minutes of your precious time with me. So I'm assuming that you got some return out of it. Anyways, we'll be happy to know the feedback on this. So thanks a lot, everyone, and wishing you all the best for your career. Do connect with me, as I said, on LinkedIn, YouTube. This is my channel. And yeah, Ashutosh Bhatodekar here, signing off for the day. Thanks and have a happy Sunday ahead. Thank you very much.